Next, on Currents News, the impeachment trial continues as a divided Senate debates the case against former President Trump. Plus, COVID cases are dropping, vaccination sites are opening up, but doses aren't meeting the demand, especially in New York City. Then, acts of kindness as this teacher's Catholic school family steps in after a devastating fire. And Catholic Schools Week is in full swing and kids are trying to stump the bishop. We'll explain. The news starts right now.
Lord, during this impeachment trial, give our lawmakers the gift of discernment, so that they will know truth from falsehood.
The Senate chaplain, Dr. Barry Black, offering up prayers for a just and righteous trial. Good evening, I'm Christine Persichetti. It's day 2 in the impeachment trial of Donald Trump. House impeachment managers trying to make the case that the former president was responsible for the attack on the U.S. Capitol last month. Nadia Romero reports from Washington.
The Senate will convene as a court of impeachment.
The case against Donald Trump continues in the impeachment court of the Senate.
Donald Trump surrendered his role as commander-in-chief and became the inciter-in-chief of a dangerous insurrection.
House managers acting as prosecutors used then-President Trump's own words, both before the election.
We're in a fight for the survival of our nation.
And after.
We're going to fight like hell, I'll tell you right now.
Along with footage from the attack on the Capitol. As evidence, Trump committed an impeachable offense, inciting an insurrection.
He told them to fight like hell, and they brought us hell on that day.
Senators serving as jurors forced to relive the siege when many hid in fear for their lives.
The harm was real. The damage was real.
Former President Trump's defense team will make their case later this week, but it's likely Trump will be acquitted, especially since only 6 Republicans voted to support the constitutionality of this case. Far short of the 17 GOP senators Democrats need to convict the former president.
I think that pretty well fixes in place what you might see as the eventual outcome.
In Washington, Nadia Romero, Currents News.
As the Senate focuses on impeachment, over in the House, a new bill is being introduced to stop the use of federal tax dollars to fund abortions. The bill, by New Jersey Representative Chris Smith, a Catholic, would make the Hyde Amendment, which outlaws federal money to pay for abortions, permanent. It would also prohibit federal employee health care plans from funding the procedure. The bill has over 130 co-sponsors. There's some positive news on the COVID front. The number of coronavirus cases are the lowest they've been since October. On Tuesday, just over 96,000 cases were reported, a downward trend for 3 straight days. And while still high, deaths from the virus also appear to be declining. This, as a new Gallup poll shows that more than 70% of Americans are now willing to get the vaccine. But shortages continue to hamper vaccination efforts as another massive site opens up in the Big Apple. Citi Field, home to the New York Mets, is the newest center to offer the vaccine. Officials had originally intended the site to be open 24/7, but vaccine shortages have curtailed those plans. So far, Citi Field has only received 800 doses, but Mayor Bill de Blasio says 4,000 additional doses are expected next week. 2 additional sites will also be opening in Brooklyn and Queens, part of a federal program that targets hard-hit communities. One at Medgar Evers College in Crown Heights and the other at York College in Jamaica. Criticism over the country's vaccine rollout has been widespread, with complaints of people being unable to schedule an appointment to stories of those who are not eligible to get the shot still getting inoculated. Camila Brunel reports on the vaccine chasers who are now taking matters into their own hands.
I can help whoever's next.
Those who seek shall find.
Most likely a sore arm.
She is a healthy 51-year-old. He is 49 and not a frontline worker.
How you doing, sir?
And she is 45, also not considered high risk.
And that's it.
California is currently in phase 1B, prioritizing individuals over 65 and frontline healthcare workers. And yet, they got the vaccine.
One extra syringe of vaccine, and that's all I have.
They're known as vaccine chasers.
In addition to following the tiers at the end of the night, we wouldn't waste any vaccine. So we will make sure that all the vaccine that we have goes to good use.
It doesn't always work, but vaccine chasers know that at the end of the night, there may be some leftover doses. And in some cases, their perseverance pays off.
I'm so excited I got the vaccine. I'm relieved.
The Moderna vaccine comes with 10 labeled doses per vial, and if opened, all must be used within about 6 hours or thrown away. Same goes for Pfizer, but with only 5 labeled doses per vial.
What we are finding is each vial gives us about 1 to 2 extra doses.
Some say it takes waiting in line for hours without any guarantees. Others tell us it's all about getting to a vaccine site right as it's about to close.
So the attitude, I think, is just we did not think that we were going to get it, but I think it's worth a shot, rather than having to wait.
The second dose, according to Bill Weston, the director of operations at Care Ambulance, is not guaranteed. But Weston says they are prioritized.
We will do everything in our power to make sure that they get their second dose.
And for the chasers, that promise is more than enough.
I think it's too soon to tell, but I think we're all in hopes that something will happen so that we can go back to somewhat normalcy, at the very least the beginning of it. It's going to take some time, but if we all come together, I think we can make it happen.
There you go.
In Orange, California, I'm Camila Bernal reporting.
Vaccinations are ramping up in Iraq, too, just in time for Pope Francis's first papal visit. The Vatican revealing 2 key priorities for the trip: the plight of the dwindling Christian population there and the importance of promoting interfaith dialogue. The tablet will have full coverage of the Holy Father's trip in March. And there's more exciting news coming from the paper. The tablet, DeSales Media's newspaper, is adding a new online feature that's going to offer a personal touch to their readers. Currents News' Jessica Easthope explains.
A new personalized experience on the tablet website will soon be up and running. With a free login that requires just a name and email, DeSales Media Group's newspaper will be allowing readers to customize, filtering out what they don't want and getting access to more of what they do, like exclusive articles, features, columns, as well as the tablet's online archive.
This is a way for us to connect with them a little bit more and for them to connect with us and personalize the experience so that they get the information and news that they want when they want it. There's a few questions.
Vito Formica, the executive director of news content and development for DeSales Media Group, the tablet's parent company, says the feature is the latest way DeSales is reaching out to readers.
At the end of the day, our mission is to evangelize, and we use all of our platforms at DeSales within the news department, television, newspaper, print, digital, to reach our audience.
Improving communication is at the top of the list of priorities for DeSales Media's digital team. Tablet readers will now be able to tailor the surge of news and information without slowing it down.
Because the tablet produces so much content and a broad interest, what we're trying to do is help the readers find the most valuable information most quickly.
Readers who don't sign up will still be able to view the tablet.org, and it will still be free. The login feature is being rolled out on February 15th.
This is what your profile page would look like.
And starting then, when readers click on certain content, they'll be prompted to create a login.
The way this whole system works is, right, so if you're a visitor to the tablet website, a regular visitor to the tablet website, and you log in and you create this profile, the more that you read, like, rate, and save articles, the more tailored your experience is going to become.
And for readers who still like the feeling of a newspaper in their hands, the print version of the tablet will have more content than what's online. And subscribing is a great way to support our mission. Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
NetTV is helping you celebrate the start of the Easter season with the Pope. On Wednesday, February 17th, NetTV will be airing the Ash Wednesday Mass from the Vatican. Again, that's Wednesday, February 17th, starting at 3:30 p.m. right here on NetTV. Still to come on Currents News, we continue our coverage of Catholic Schools Week, starting with how one academy in the Diocese of Brooklyn came together to help a teacher whose home went up in flames. Then the Bishop of Brooklyn joins in, making a virtual visit to St. Stan's Catholic Academy in Queens. And we're sitting down with gospel jazz artist Richard DeBrew Jr. as he highlights one of his songs for Black History Month.
Starting February 15th, changes are coming to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
Continuing our coverage of Catholic Schools Week, Emily Espinal has only worked at St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Academy for a year, but she's already an important part of the community. So when tragedy struck at home, the school family rallied behind her. Currents News' Emily Druby has her story.
I want you to make a list.
Teacher Emily Espinal is part of the St. Joseph the Worker Catholic Academy family.
Yes, Christian.
And when disaster struck her family, she learned the true meaning of that.
It was unbelievable the way the community of this school came together.
On January 3rd, Emily was awakened by a fire at her neighbor's home. She ran to get her daughter.
I'm carrying her out with her boots in one hand and her coat in another. And the window exploded.
They just made it out, but by then the fire had jumped to their home. It's still hard to talk about.
It was horrible because it was literally a few days. She had just opened all of her brand new Christmas gifts. And it was really sad. Sorry.
The damage was bad. Everything her daughter owned was gone. The home also needed extensive repairs.
There was shards of glass just everywhere. The water damaged her mattress.
Still, just days later, Emily was back in the classroom, a dedication to her students that doesn't go unnoticed. They sing her praises.
If there's a whole equation, she can make it fun.
After hearing about the fire, her class parent jumped in to help, enlisting the school's principal.
I reached out to Ms. German about creating a fundraiser, and that's when we put together a letter to the school
asking the community for donations.
My first initial thoughts were basically, how can we help? This is someone we care about. This is someone who's shown a lot of care for my child.
They replaced everything, even raising enough money to get renovations started.
Thank you, everybody, St. Joseph.
I was blown away.
But material items weren't the only things lost. Her daughter Mia was still struggling with the trauma.
She hasn't been wanting to be by windows lately. She's real shaken up about it.
So one of her students' parents, a lieutenant at Engine 284, Ladder 149 in Diker Heights, invited both Mia and her little brother Eli to the firehouse.
You want the helmet too?
To try and help ease those fears, and it worked.
That evening was one of the first nights that Mia actually, slept through the night.
It's a long process, but they're finally on the mend with a little help from her Catholic Academy family. In Windsor Terrace, Brooklyn, Emily Druby, Currents News.
Bishop Dimarzio is making his annual visits for Catholic Schools Week, but instead of touring classrooms in person, it's virtual this year. One visit was to St. Stanislaus Kostka Catholic Academy in Maspeth Wednesday. Each student got the chance to ask the bishop a question. Some were about his time in the diocese, others about Mass, but one question allowed them to get to know a new side of Bishop Dimarzio.
What are some of your hobbies?
What I like to do in my free time is cook. I like to cook because I like to eat. And also I have a hobby of gardening. When we ordained a new priest every year, I give them a plant. The plant that I grow, it's called the crown of thorns plant. It used to belong to my grandmother.
Learn something new. Bishop Dimarzio will virtually visit students at St. Francis of Assisi Catholic Academy on Thursday. Back in Brooklyn, a Catholic school got to ride in a magic school bus, or should I say, flying classroom.
You ready to go? Ready to go! All right, ready, hit it.
This lesson for the students at Our Lady of Perpetual Help Catholic Academy in Sunset Park was led by Captain Barrington Irving, the first black man and youngest person ever to fly solo around the world. The Flying Classroom is a STEM digital curriculum targeting grades K through 8 that challenges students to design innovative solutions to the problems Captain Irving investigates. The STEM courses will be part of the diocesan curriculum for the 2021 school year. Both Currents News and the Tablet will continue to bring you full coverage of Catholic Schools Week. Be sure to check out currentsny.tv and thetablet.org as we highlight the spiritual and academic benefits of a Catholic education. There's news in the city's public schools, too, as middle schools in New York get ready to resume in-person learning at the end of the month. Talks about reopening schools have ramped up the debate over how to do it safely. As Britt Conway reports, the CDC is expected to update its guidance on sending kids back to the classroom.
This is what back to school used to look like. Now, nearly a year into the pandemic, sending kids back to the classroom is a debate about safety and a matter of where you live. Some districts have already returned to in-person learning. Many of the country's 13,000 school districts have come up with their own standards for when it's safe to send kids back into schools. But federal guidelines are expected to come out this week. We already know President Joe Biden's goal is to have more than 50% of schools back open by day 100 of his presidency.
And that means some teaching in classrooms. So at least one day a week, hopefully it's more. And obviously it is as much as is safe in each school and local district.
But as much as is safe is where the debate kicks in. Some medical experts say it can be done safely, pointing to a study of 17 rural schools.
The data from schools suggests that there's very little transmission that is happening within the schools, especially when there's masking and distancing occurring.
But for some schools, especially those in more populated areas with older buildings or larger classes, meeting safety guidelines can be a challenge. In several states right now, there are intense negotiations over restarting in-person learning. The head of one of the largest teachers' unions in the country says federal guidance is a step in the right direction.
We've been trying to get unequivocal guidance and the resources since last June.
I'm Britt Conway reporting.
Still to come on Currents News, we continue to honor Black History Month. Brooklyn native and jazz musician Richard DeBrew Jr. joins us to talk about his music and his faith. And you can join in on the celebration as the Diocese of Brooklyn plans its Black History Month Mass. We'll tell you how. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. The last time we caught up with Brooklyn native and jazz musician Richard DeBrew Jr., he was releasing his album Jazz in the Spirit. Now he's highlighting one song in particular off that album for Black History Month. Richard joins us now from his home in Richmond, Virginia. So Richard, tell us about the song and why you're highlighting it for the month of February.
Okay, thank you. It's good to see everyone again, especially my Brooklyn folks. It is a song called By and By, and the full title is We'll Understand It Better By and By. It was written by the Reverend Charles Albert Tinley, who was an African-American pastor and songwriter. He wrote it in 1905, and although things were dramatically different then, one of the great things about the song is that it speaks to triumph through struggle, which goes part and parcel with Black History Month. And so as part of the strategy for letting people know about this album, I've highlighted a particular song each month. And so this month is By and By.
Great idea. And I know we're in for a treat because you're going to perform that song for us in just a bit. But before that, talk to us a little about your Black musical influences. Who inspired you to become a musician?
Oh my goodness. Well, I tell you, there's a lot. Growing up in the church, there were all of my local choir directors, but there was two particular saxophone players that had a real impact on me. One of them is Julian Cannonball Adderley, and another is Grover Washington Jr. They both passed on now, but their legacy is incredible. I just love the way they played.
You have a scheduled performance at Sacred Heart in the Diocese of Brooklyn coming up. So tell us, what is it like performing in church, especially now during Black History Month?
It is it's different. Sacred Heart, I've been doing that for about the last 3 years as a guest for their mass during the Black History Month, and they're still having in-person worship services, but they're much smaller.
Right.
The people are really spaced out. I'm gonna probably have a screen in front of me because the horn, air goes out a long way. I'm encouraged that people are still seeking the Lord. People are still looking for ways to express and manifest their faith, even and especially in the middle of the pandemic. And so that's why it's special to me to keep doing it.
So talk about how your faith plays a role when you're creating your music.
Oh, it's in there. It's baked into the cake. This month, Black History Month in particular, is all about, there's a verse in "We'll Understand It Better by and by," and that almost kind of sums it up. It goes, "Trials dark on every hand, and we cannot understand all the ways that God would lead us through to that blessed promised land. But He guides us with His eye, and we'll follow till we'll die. We will understand it better by and by." So that was the story of my life. I had a difficult way finding my way through music, going through college and Brown University, Berklee College of Music. I changed my major 3 times.
Wow.
And I wound up doing music. And during that time, it was a period of self-discovery, making a lot of mistakes. But this song sustained me through a lot of that because there were a lot of things that I did not understand at 17 that make a lot more sense at 51. So we truly understand it better by and by.
That's great. All right, Richard, thank you so much. And don't go anywhere. You're going to help us close out our newscast in just a minute. But first, a special Black History Month celebration to add to your calendar. The Brooklyn Diocese will be having its Mass celebrating Black History Month on Sunday, February 28th. It will air live on NetTV from the Co-Cathedral of St. Joseph at 3 p.m. Bishop Nicholas Dimarzio will be the main celebrant. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. I hope to see you again next time. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the smooth sounds of Richard DeBrew Jr. Richard, take it away.